when there is nothing to say, making sure that there's a right memories.
Last year, we were able to identify that these were the needs, that education, that healthcare, and that agriculture were the needs of the community. And we said, we're going to speak to them through road development. We saw that it's not necessarily that they don't have marketplaces. The nearest one's Mafon. It's about 5.5 miles, like I said. It's not necessarily that they don't have schools. The nearest school is an hour away. It's the next town over. And it's not necessarily that they don't have health care. They don't have clinics or hospitals. The real issue at hand is that they lack access to what is already there. So we're working with Northeastern University. It's the 5.5 miles that I'm talking to you about is the 5.5 miles that we're looking to develop, and that's from Robert all the way to Mafouin, the nearest city from Robert. And it's about 5.5 miles. We're working with Northeastern University, and they're going to be designing a full-fledged development project for these roads. We've already taken a gentleman down with us from Northeastern. He was there with us on our last trip in October. And we're really excited about these roads because we see it as really the long-term approach to developing this community. In all three of these areas, agriculture, education, and healthcare, what does that have to do with road development? Well, let me explain. So let's start with the first one, agriculture. In Haiti, in this specific area of Haiti, there are 2 seasons of harvest and 2 seasons of famine. It's basically abundance when they have times of plenty during the seasons of harvest and times of drought where they have very little. That's what exists in Haiti. It coincides with fall and spring, which also coincides with the semesters in school. It's just kind of how it works. And unfortunately, during those seasons of abundance, they have so much that they don't know what to do with. There's an issue of preservation. And then also there's another issue of being able to sell what they have so that while they don't have, they can go and buy when they have need. So during the seasons of drought, if they had been able to sell when they had plenty, they would be able to go and buy what they needed naturally, right? So you save up when you have much, and then when you have little, you go and spend to provide for your family. So one of the issues we saw is that the community members, about 95% of the community members are subsistence farmers, and that means that they provide for what they plant and harvest what they eat, and that's all. They eat what they harvest. And so this creates a sticky situation to be in because even if they were to develop their agriculture further, they wouldn't be able to have a marketplace to sell it to. The nearest marketplace is Mafouin, which is about 5.5 miles down the road. And this is very difficult to transport any substantial amount of food to this marketplace, especially when you're by donkey or by carrying stuff on your head or your back. So that was one of the issues we saw. The other one was education, and within this community there is no school. Up on the mountain there's only primary and secondary education. There's no high school available to them. They have to go to the city. A lot of people lack the capital to send their kids once they reach that level to high school to go down to the city. Maybe they don't have people in the city for them to stay with or provide for them, or they just don't have the funds to send them there. So we find that a lot of kids only reach the level of secondary education and then they stop. And that's equivalent to our middle school. Along with that is a separate issue. In Haiti, if you go to school and you're dirty, they send you home. There's really strict uniform policies in the public schools. And so during those 2 seasons of rain, which coincide with the spring and fall semester, a lot of the kids just don't go to school. A lot of the kids aren't sent to school. It's about max from the furthest distance. The nearest school is in Lori, which is right next to Robert, and the furthest someone would have to walk was about an hour to get to school. So there are some issues that we see. education, as a lot of us know, is a huge key part of any sort of community development. And so we saw that as another root cause. One of the effects of these slippery roads during the rainy seasons that kids slip and fall on, get dirty, and then they say, go home. Healthcare. This was another issue that we saw. When I was down there in 2011, it was during 2010, it was during the cholera outbreak, and what we saw is that a lot of people in this community specifically died on the way, and in the surrounding communities, died on the way to the hospital to get treatment. Because there's about a 5.5 mile distance between this village that we're working in and the next nearest city, not where the nearest hospital is, where the nearest access to transportation is, a lot of people were dying on the way to the hospitals in the roads. The committee actually that we're working with, they set up a system to, their way of combating this is having about 60 guys at any time ready, during the night when anybody decides that they have cholera or have the symptoms of it, that they'd be able to call on them. They use a conch shell or a almost like a shofar, like it's a horn made from a horn of an animal, and they call out in the middle of the night. The guys hear it. The people who are part of this group meet up at one location, and then they go and grab the individual who's sick. And they create a relay system down the mountain that whenever someone's tired, they switch out, on this wooden stretcher, carrying them down to the nearest, location for transportation. So these are pretty big issues that we see.
We have 0 paid employees. This is our treasurer to speak to that.
All right, so I'm the treasurer and the CFO. So none of us are drawing any salary whatsoever. We haven't at any time either. Last year we were able to raise about $36,000. These come from people like yourself who are willing to support us. We have big goals for this year moving on and so on. But we're not drawing any salary whatsoever.
And we've had a great last year. But I want to come down to earth with you and say that we have needs. We have volunteer needs. We have positions, a list about a mile long of volunteer positions that we need, whether that be technical, professional, whether that be the wonderful volunteers that came out from here, there, and everywhere tonight to help put this night together. So there are a list of needs a mile long that we have, and I want to encourage you that if you have any sort of professional strengths, bring them to the foundation.
So darling,